Okay, how come it's okay? Now we're live. Okay. We are live now. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Ellis Lee, and welcome to the Just English Discussion Club, also known as English Adventure Time. Today, we will be talking about global warming and climate change with a special guest, Just Professor Suthipong, who is from the School of Earth Sciences and Environmental Engineering. Earlier this month, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change at the United Nations released an extensive report about the evidence supporting climate change. For this report, hold on one second. I need to, this is why I wanted, I need to go to, so Teams, sorry, and share. Okay, here we go. Now everyone's on the same page. Okay, for this report released by the United Nations earlier this month, they basically reviewed over 14,000 scientific publications, and a team of 234 scientists from 65 countries participated in drafting the document, in drafting the report. And in this report, there were some very stark conclusions. And this is the summary for policymakers. According to the UN report, they're basically saying it's undeniable that humans are influencing global warming, and human activity is increasing the temperature of the atmosphere, ocean, and land. And the report concludes that this is unprecedented for many centuries and even for many thousands of years. This has not happened naturally in a very, very long time. So the report concludes that human-induced climate change is already affecting every region across the world. Okay. And the report further goes on to discuss what can happen in the future. According to the report, global surface temperatures will continue to rise until at least the middle of the century, unless something is done to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, and another very depressing conclusion was that as CO2 emissions continue to rise, the climate change that we are seeing will only increase and become much, much worse. Another very sad, depressing conclusion from the article, from the report, is that up until now, a lot of environmental factors such as the Amazon rainforest and the oceans have been a carbon sink. They have been absorbing excess CO2 emissions in the atmosphere, but now that process is becoming more and more ineffective. The Earth cannot deal with the amount of CO2 people are putting into the environment. And even if we stop CO2 emissions today, the report concludes that for many centuries, for many hundreds of years to 1,000 years, some changes will be irreversible, such as global sea level rise and the loss of glaciers and ice sheets. So the prognosis of the UN report is very depressing, and it's kind of interesting, but I found this article from 1912 from a newspaper in New Zealand. Look what the news article over 100 years ago said. The world is now burning about 2 billion tons of coal a year. When this coal is burned, and unites with oxygen, it adds about 7 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere yearly. This tends to make the air a more effective blanket for the Earth and to raise its temperature. The effect may be considerable in a few centuries. Although this article from over 100 years ago in New Zealand was very accurate, the effects are happening much, much sooner than they realized back then. So about 100 years later, we're already seeing the effects of CO2 emissions into the environment changing the global climate. And now, I would like to introduce Professor Suthipong from the Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology, who is a professor in the School of Earth Sciences and Environmental Engineering, to open this discussion on global warming. Welcome, Professor Suthipong.
Hi, students. Hi, everyone. So you already see my name, right? Suthipong Sthiannopkao, right? Okay. Can you guess which country am I from? Anyone? Guessing by my name, which country?
Singapore?
Singapore. It's not. Very close now. Can you move it up?
Taiwan.
Almost close.
Dr.
It's not Taiwan.
Dr. Yoon in the chats has an answer. Can you look at the chat?
Oh, yes. Thailand. Thailand. From Bangkok, you know. For us, Thai people, my name is not the longest. Longer name is better because based on our name, we have meanings. Okay, anyway, you can call me Suthi, okay? S-U-T-H-I, Suthi. Okay, so Alice asked me to show some evidence about impact of climate change in Korea, South Korea. I picked up this from pieces of news in, unfortunately, this is long time ago, okay? But still you can see the trace of impacts of climate change on Korea. Okay, I will show you my PPT. You see my PPT, right? Okay, only picture. You see this. This is in, what kind of fruit here, student? What do you call this kind of fruit? This is tropical fruit. It's papaya. This is in Jeju Island. Okay, you can see this one, right? Now, some farmers in Jeju Island can grow many kind of tropical fruit, papayas, and these are other tropical fruits that now they can be cultivated in Jeju Island. And this is a report from the Rural Development Administration. They found the increasing of temperature, surface temperature, okay, about 1.6 degrees Celsius in the last century. 1 century is 100 years, right? And there is a trend that summer in Korea is getting warmer. This is a trend, okay? Another impact is about sea level rising, okay, in South Korea. They said in the last 40 years, the sea levels in South Korea is rising about 10 centimeters. Okay, and this is a picture of sea level rising in South Korea. You see this. The biggest one is here surrounding Jeju Island. You see the bigger size of the dot. That means the most increasing of sea levels. This is the East Coast and West Coast. This is, we are here, right? Gwangju, right? I guess. Anyway, Korea already have some impacts of climate change. This is beyond Korea. This is Maldives. Okay, this is the location of Maldives. This is the world map, you see? Maldives is a good example of impact of climate change. It's a clear example that sea level significantly rising and will flood this island in the coming future. So that's all for my proof of some evidences of climate change. Okay, now I will go back with, I list 4 questions about climate change. Okay, student, anyone have any idea why we call climate change not weather change? Why they call climate change not weather change? Are you wondering about this? We have climate and weather, right? Why don't they call weather change? What difference between climate and weather? Anyone?
May I?
I see Chan Young has his hand up.
Okay.
Yeah,
as far as I know,
the difference
the
between
difference between the climate and the
weather
is that
weather
weather
is
is
in
in
terms
terms of a day
or
or just for a
time.
short time, but
Climate is
the
kind
kind
of
of
big
big
scale
scale
of
of
the
the
time
time and the
big
big
tendency of
tendency
the
of the
weathers
weathers
of
of
each
each
day.
days. And
Climate
climate
change
change
means
means the
weather of
weather of
each
each
days
days
of
of
tendency
tendency is
changing,
changing,
not
not
a
a
single
single
days
days
of
of weather.
Excellent. That is absolutely correct. You see, the weather today, when we talk about weather, you can expect to have 4 seasons during one day. Weather change a lot during the day. This is normal. Okay, this is common for our Earth climate. Okay, but when we talk about climate, what is the meaning of climate? As what is your name? Can you tell me again your name? You are excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Chan Young,
Leader of the
leader of
Okay.
this.
Okay, Mr. Chong. That's what he said. When we talk about climate, we have to look for a long-term trend. Long-term for how long? Mr. Chong, what do you think? What is the period that we use to analyze climate change?
A year.
What
A
do you
year,
think?
I think.
Say that again.
A year.
A year,
I think.
I think.
A year is too short.
Ah,
At least 100 years.
Give me a new answer.
100 years.
Longer is better. Longer is better. You have longer period of climate, that is the best. Because when we talk about climate change, we check the trend, changing trend. That's why we give the name climate change. You have to understand this basic question first, so that we don't argue, oh, climate change is fake. Because, okay, difference between weather and climate is the period of data. Okay, when we talk about climate change, we need long trend, long period of climate data. Okay, when we talk about climate data, Mr. Chong, because you write your name in Korean, sorry, my Korean is 0. Mr. Chong, can you give me indicator of climate indicator example that you can use as an example of climate change?
I'm not sure this, but
would be
would
the
be the big data of
each
each weather's average temperature.
Yes, air temperature. I think air temperature is #1 example that people use when they talk or analyze about climate change. Air temperature. Any other indicator of climate? First, air temperature. Second one, anyone? Okay, open. Not only Mr. Chong, I put a lot of pressure on him. Other students?
CO2 concentration in the atmosphere.
Actually, CO2 is not indicator of climate. Think about climate. Okay, today, look outside your window. You are now at this, right? We have rain. You can use rain, rainfalls, or precipitation, like rain or snowfalls. That could be climate indicator. In general, I can see they use like air temperature, precipitation. Precipitation could be rainfalls, snowfalls. I think these two are major climate indicators. Most people talking about climate change. You know why? You know why people talk about rain, air temperature, not other climate indicator like air pressure, like humidity. I think people can talk humidity too, because humidity is increasing too because of impact of climate change. Because based on we have a climate monitoring stations long times ago, easy to measure air temperature and precipitation. Example, right? Rainfalls. We have 2, and We have a long period of monitoring. This is the reason. Okay. Another question that I will ask you. You might hear both climate change and global warming, right? Right? You think both are the same or different? Climate change and global warming. Anyone? What do you think? You hear both, right? On TV, or you read articles, newspapers, global warming, climate change, global warming. You think both are the same or different in terms of meaning?
They have to be different.
Why you think they have to be different? How different?
Because the Earth in the past has experienced times of global cooling during the ice ages. And
Right.
so during those times, the temperature globally decreases. Right?
Right.
So it's different from global warming.
What is global warming then?
I think global warming is a current trend in the past 120 years, 150 years, where because of industrialization,
Right.
the recorded temperature has been increasing steadily, consistently.
Yes, continue. Yes, that's correct. When you talk about global warming, we're focusing on the rising of average Earth's surface temperature. The Earth's surface temperature average, I have to say average or the mean Earth's surface temperature rising from past until now. You see, I told you, talking about climate change, we check the trend, okay? Checking trend. You see the rising trend of average Earth surface temperature. From long times ago until now, it's really rising. But why I have to say average or mean? Because it doesn't mean everywhere in the Earth temperature is rising. Some part, it could be drop, decreasing, yes. Some other part is rising, but average or mean is rising, positive. You understand? Anyway, student.
If I can elaborate, for
Go
what
ahead.
Professor Suthipong was talking about, for example, if there's a huge earthquake that erupts in Indonesia or Yellowstone National Park, the amount of ash that can go into the atmosphere would actually reduce the temperature worldwide.
Okay.
Right? So
That's true, but it's an earthquake. It's volcanic eruption.
exactly, right? So
Okay.
daily weather can change frequently.
This is already happened in the past.
Yeah.
In the past, we have tons of active volcanoes in the past. Now we have some still active. Okay, past you have a lot of active volcanoes. What happened? It explodes almost every month, several times during the year. Okay, I'm talking about the past, long times ago. One is exposed. What is coming out from volcanoes? CO2 gas, right? SO2 gas, right? Dust, right? And this kind of thing, it can cool down the earth temperature on the surface. And it's not just cool down for one day or 1 month. The effect could last for a year or longer. We have this event already happening in the past. Okay, Alice. Student, you have any other question to ask me? So far, so good for you. You look like stunning.
In the 6th slide, I am curious, like, there was different rate of sea level rising in Korea.
Right.
I'm thinking, how is that possible? Because the water is a fluid, so if one goes faster up than another, then it will flow down. So I thought it will be all the same in the whole globe, but I can't understand how can that happen.
You mean the level of sea level rising, right?
Yeah.
Around Korea, right? You have to understand that why the level is different. If you go to the ocean floor ocean floor is not totally flat, same level, right?
Is it?
Some ocean floor, even you have mountain under the sea too, right? Student, it's not flat like the floor at my office, right? If it's flat, same level, you expect to have the same rising amount. Whatever coast surrounding Korea, but if you go back, you dive deeper, you will see the sea ocean floor is not flat, same level. It will be like this, up and down, up and down, up and down, you know, because different level of the ocean floor, you expect to have different amount of sea level risings on the surface. You agree?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree.
I disagree.
Good question.
I disagree. Because if you look at a cup of water, you know, even if I put a rock in the water to increase the volume, water is flat as a fluid, right? I can't make half the bottle be higher than the other half in my
Oh yeah, that's true. You think about this, okay? You go out to nature. You know sea ice, right?
sea ice.
How sea ice is formed, student?
Yeah, for
You know sea
Sea
ice, right? How sea ice is formed?
You're googling it.
Student, anyone?
Sea ice forms when the temperature drops below 0 degrees Celsius.
Yes, yes.
And
Drop
it
below
forms ice
zero.
cubes on the ocean.
That's correct.
Yeah.
When sea ice melting, you think the sea level rising?
No,
It's not.
it's not. Because the
Yeah.
volume of the ice when it melts is the same when it
Exactly.
actually ice expands when it freezes.
Right.
So when it melts, it should actually decrease the
Right.
volume,
You
right?
have the same volume of the sea doesn't change,
Yeah.
but why the sea level risings? We have different kind of ice. We have land ice. What do I mean land ice? I mean glaciers. You know glaciers, right? We have two types of glaciers, right? We have alpine glaciers and we have continental glaciers, right? What does it mean, continental glacier? Another name continental glaciers is ice sheet. Ice sheet, okay, when you talk about ice sheet, this is like, you know, Greenland, right? Greenland, right? Greenland, okay, that is an example of ice sheet. Which Greenland belong to which country, student?
Denmark.
Greenland belong to which country?
Was it
Denmark.
Denmark?
Excellent. Denmark. Excellent. Yeah, Greenland is because the melting of land ice from glaciers. When land ice melting, that water, extra amount of water, flow downhill, end up in the oceans, right? This is first reason why sea level is rising. Another reason why sea level is rising is, okay, I have to ask you, student, when we talk about sea levels, you know our planet Earth, right? What is the nickname of planet Earth? If you look over the Earth, what color you see?
Blue and green.
You see, which color you see more between blue and green?
Blue.
You see blue. We call blue planet, right? What represent blue? Student. What represent blue color
Water.
on the Earth surface? Oceans. 70% is a lot. 70%. Why I mentioned about 70% oceans? Because when I just told you we talk about Earth's surface temperature rising, right? Right? And this rising Earth surface temperature, the heat in the air is also absorbed by ocean as well. Oceans absorbing heat. Ocean absorbing heat. And then what happened when ocean absorbing heat?
So sea level increases.
Yeah. The volume expand, right? When you boil water, right? You put water in the pot and you light up fire underneath. What happened? water volume rising, right? This is another reason why sea level rising from land ice and from warm up of the oceans because of increasing of Earth's surface temperature. Student, my course GS2475 now open for you to register. GS2475. The course is environmental pollution. This coming semester, student, you have to participate. How can you miss it? GS2475 is open, already open. You have to register, you have time, okay? If you are interested, you can join my lecture, GS2475, this coming Monday, 1 p.m. I talk about climate change, I talk about biodiversity, I talk about green business. Okay, student, come and join me. If you don't like it, you just drop, it's okay. Just give me one chance to attend first lecture, okay? Okay, and then, do you believe in climate change, student? My next question, do you believe in climate change?
I didn't understand that.
Anyone?
Yes, I believe climate change.
Okay, you believe. How about other? I have to get all opinions from all participants.
Yeah, especially
Just,
if you disagree, be sure to speak up. So.
Sorry, let me answer. Let me answer the chat first. Yes, because okay, good. GS2475. Okay, the title environmental pollution. Student, we will have fun. You know, I got funding from GIS Inter project. Okay, we have group activity. It's project-based activity. I can treat you a meal, drink for free, student.
Oh,
Supported by GIS,
stop.
not from me. Okay, student, go on. Okay, now I cannot. Okay, because you put your name in Korea, I cannot read your name. Okay, John, what do you think? You believe in climate change?
Yeah, certainly. I have for a very long time, and the difficult thing is I know people back in America, some people who don't, and it's so hard to convince them that climate change is real. You can point towards evidence and they say, oh, well, I don't really know about that, but there's this other theory, and they'll come up with something like it's about the sun, the sun is changing its cycle. And you can try to explain to them like, well, actually, that's not having a very big effect, but they have all these different, sources that confirm what they already believe.
Right.
So it's very hard to battle, disinformation, but.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, but I personally am on the side of evidence-based science.
Personally, I believe in climate change. Why? Because I see evidences. What evidences that I see? Rising Earth surface temperature, number one. Rising of ocean temperature. This thing we can measure. Not only 1 year, we have statistics. Is in the rising of both Earth surface temperature, ocean temperatures. If you measure the length of glaciers worldwide, is decreasing. The most impact of glacier melting that will be in the Arctic, not pole, that get the most impact of warming up of Earth's surface temperature in the Arctic. What else? What other evidence? This kind of, I cannot think of. There are many evidence, but I'm not surprised that most people in the US, some of them don't believe this is climate change, because I think they might think, because what they're facing is everyday weather. I think what they might be confusing. I might be wrong about that, why we have to understand weather and climate meaning first. They might see every day you already have in the morning rain, during the day sunny, hot, evening, okay, cool. You know, this is since they were born, this is common for them, okay? And when we talk about climate change, we cannot, okay, I think I should ask you these questions. Who should ask? Mr. Chong, Mr. Chong. Okay. What you think? You think this is climate change? If only I show you pictures of impact of climate change on Korea, right? Right, Jeju Island, they can grow now tropical fruit. If only this event like growing tropical fruit only happening in Korea, only you observe the change only in Korea, not worldwide. Like temperature is warmer, especially in the winter. Jeju people now can grow tropical fruit. You think this can consider as climate change, Mr. Chong?
Yes, I think so because only the days of weather changes cannot make what food can grow in the land.
Okay, but okay, you have to listen. This is only happening in Korea, not other countries. You understand my question?
Yep.
You think this is climate change? Okay, some people ask, what you think, Mr.
I'm not
Chong?
sure.
Okay, no, what you think? You have to say what you think, yes or no. No, I'm not
I
sure.
think, I think it can be seen as climate change.
Okay, okay. When you talk about climate change, you have to consider global scales. Global scale meaning, what meaning global scale? Just changing of climate just in one country, specific country, or even in one specific regions is not considered as climate change. Climate change is in the global scale. You see this, why I say global scale? You see this year, okay, some who is asking me, you see this year, big news about heat wave in Canada and USA, right? Have you heard about that news? Heat wave, and hundreds of people die because of heat wave. It's happening in Canada and USA. This is unusual. This is one extreme event. Another extreme event, heavy flood in Germany and Belgium. You heard this news? Even flooding in China. You see video clip, I think in Guangdong province, people taking subway and flood water entering subway station, water keep rising inside the train. Have you watched that video clip? Huge flooding in Guangdong province in China. This is, you can see the trend is happening globally, not just space one part of the earth. This is the sign of climate change. Student, yes, I would answer from someone text, using text. Yes, this is indeed the sign of climate change. That what happening in Canada and US about heat wave this year. Okay, student. Other, do you believe in climate change and why?
I believe because I trust scientists. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you trust scientists. You are also scientists, yes. Because scientists, we consider based on evidence, right? Evidence prove it, right? Not what we think. What we prove it by evidence. We correct evidence, right? That's the proof.
So, what is the strongest evidence scientists have that long-term, large-scale global climate change is happening?
Who is that student? Student on top. He mentioned about CO2 emission.
Was it Yunho?
This one.
I think Yunho mentioned earlier that
Yes. this. This is the major proof about CO2 emission. Why we are talking about climate change right now? You have to understand the turning point of our human period. The turning point is when we have industrial revolution. That is the turning point. Before industrial revolution, no one care about climate change. No one care about sustainable development. I think now is a trend. You hear almost every day, climate change, sustainable development. Since we have industrial revolution, that changed everything. How it has changed everything? Burning fossil fuels. We found that in the past, before industrial revolution, all production based on human labor, right? But since we can invent some kind of steam engine, burning coal, that changed everything because of invention of steam engine with coal burning. And that increased a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere.
Dr. Yoon has a question in the chat. I'll read it for you. I am wondering if one single extreme event, for example, the flooding in Germany, can be considered as an evidence of climate change. I think if that extreme events occur periodically, like the flooding, we can consider that as
It just one extreme event is not considered as climate change because it can happen even naturally.
Yeah.
I told you climate change, you have to look for the long-term trend. You have to look, you must have long-term data. And you see, okay, that year you see flood. And you see like frequency of happening of extreme event. You have to see the trend. One extreme event, you cannot say this is climate change. Not only the trend. I just told you climate change is global scale. One part or one region or one country, you see more extreme event. Like Philippines, okay, Philippines. They have typhoons, more typhoon every year. This is natural. You know it's not. Philippines, if you look at Philippines, one country, they face this typhoon every year. Long times ago. But now there is a trend, even Philippines, that number of typhoon together with intensity of typhoon increasing. And I hope I answer his question, right? Okay, student. You can ask me any question, student. Oh, I think one more question is, when we talk climate change, some people in doubt whether climate change natural or man-made. What you think? Climate change.
I don't know the word of the mean. Is it
the
right?
meaning? Because people wondering, climate change is really, we did it. I mean, human being caused climate change, or this is a natural process for climate change. You understand, right?
Yes, sir.
So what you think?
I think man-made.
Why? You have any reason to back up?
Because as Professor said, there is no there's no worries about global warming before the invention of engines.
Right. Okay, Mr. Chong, in the past, we also have this global warming. We also rising of Earth's surface temperature too. Nature also have this kind of event. But what difference between nature and man-made? Induced climate change.
As I think before human being made the industrial revolution, global warming can happen, but also global cooling can happen.
Right.
Average temperature of the Earth can go up and down either, but human made the probability of going up the average temperature may be higher.
Right.
And how about the timescales involved?
Actually, this is great questions. When we talk about climate change, I think we have to talk about time scales. Actually, what we are talking about climate change now, the time scale maybe back since we have industrial revolution. That means it's maybe over 250 years ago. It's about time scale. It should be a few centuries from now backward. That is the time scale of really climate change induced by human beings. John, clear, right?
Yes, yes. So the timescales now we're seeing just, CO2 rising and the temperature changing over decades rather than hundreds of years. So I think
Right.
that's very strong evidence for this being man-made.
Yes.
It's different from the natural cycle.
What different from natural cycle? Usually natural cycle, you can have warm and cool, but the time period is far longer. It might take more than thousands and thousands with S of years.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But what we see now is even half of centuries. Half of centuries. You see rapid rising of CO2, and this is in good agreement of rising of Earth's surface temperature. This is clear evidence of human impacts.
Professor, can you mention about the evidence of the ice core samples from Antarctica and Greenland?
Yeah, because why we talk about ice core? What is the benefit of ice cores? You know ice core, right? The tube, ice tube. You go to the Arctic or Antarctic and they drill it. They drill the ice. And then from that ice core, you can check the concentration of many things, of CO2, sulfur dioxide, dust, or some kind of even living organisms. In the past, that means even more than 1 million years ago. 1 million years ago. It could be far backward. And the ice core is also proof about the changing of CO2 in the past. That means before we have human being, because the Earth was there, the age of the Earth is about 4.5 billion years. Okay, so we can go back far, and you can see this is no human being. What is the trend of CO2, the trend of dust, or SO2? Somehow we can get the history of Earth climate by using ice cores. Alice, this is your question.
Yes, I think it's important when you're talking about timescales in comparison to the Industrial Revolution to mention how far back we can accurately measure the CO2 concentration levels in the atmosphere.
Right.
Are there any other questions from anyone about?
I have a question. Like, I just have a curiosity. Like, how do you estimate how old the ice cube is in the beneath? Like I'm curious about the method.
Say that again. Can you repeat your question?
So how do you estimate how old the ice cube is below? Like, how old the ice cube is?
Oh, I think they use some kind of isotope.
What?
Isotope, like carbon isotope. I think they use isotope. It's some kind of rare element of carbon. You have to understand, okay, how the ice is formed, how the ice sheet is formed. Still then,
Layer by layer.
how glaciers, mountain ice is made? From snow.
Yeah.
Excellent. From snow. Every year snow. And then, because in the North or South Pole is extremely cold. First year, second year, third, and then million of years, piling up of snow. When piling up snow has a weight, right? Heavy, right? So it's compressed. Snow at the base turned into ice. And snow falling. Snow is some form of water, right? It can absorb some kind of gas or dust in the air, right? Right? And then accumulate on the ground, right? And then it lock up in the air bubble, for example. Now scientists have I think they use some kind of carbon isotope. I'm not sure, but there is some kind of element isotope to check the element or the age of the ice. Anyway, student, it's better you attend my course GS2475. I will explain in details. Are they clear for you?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Also, the ice core samples that they get from Antarctica and Greenland are hundreds to kilometers deep. They drill very, very deep.
Yes, they go into very, very deep. Yes. You need huge machine drilling up.
So, Professor, if no one else has any questions, how can we, as a society, as individuals, prevent the worst effects of climate change from happening?
I think it should start with you, Alice.
Yeah. I should stop producing.
You still eating beef?
Yeah, of course.
You like it. You see,
Yeah.
you don't know it's cow release a lot of methane too, right?
Yeah.
Methane is one of greenhouse gases.
Yeah. More.
Stop eating meat. You see, the caveman, right? Their life is so simple. Okay, you don't need to go back like them. Okay, what your daily activities you can help our planet a lot, because the main cause of global warming or climate change is greenhouse gases. What are greenhouse gases? CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, CFC. It could be focus on CO2 and methane. CO2, methane. What is the source of CO2? Where is CO2 come from? Student.
Carbon and oxygen.
Yes. What is how you get CO2? What is the source of CO2?
Burning fossil fuels.
Burning fossil fuels. We burning a lot of fossil fuel. Our economy is fossil fuel based economy. Without fossil based economy, this give you energy, right? Energy for growing food, energy giving you the produce electricity. Everything depends on energy. If you decrease this, instead of driving personal car, you use the subway or walk in a short distance. That already help. If every single human being doing the same thing, have this kind of mindset, you can help to save our only planet Earth.
I kind of disagree with that, because even if individuals stop doing something, it's the corporations that are largely responsible for producing CO2 in society.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really depressing. Like when I hear people say, "Oh, don't use plastic straws," or walk. Like, one person out of 7.8 billion people on Earth isn't going to make any difference. So to me, hearing that kind of suggestion makes me think there's nothing we can do. So just let's eat more.
Because this is simple way that everyone can do without paying money. You just do it. This is your daily life. You walk, right? Walking is good for your health first. Okay, short distance walk. Okay, the way how you consume food. Okay, no food waste. Okay, and the way you just turn off the light at your home. When you finish working on your computer, this is easy things that everyone can do and help. Believe me, everyone turn on just one light bulb or one fluorescent light. We do it 7.5 billion people. That will make a big impact on our planet Earth. But this is easy way for us to do because we are not policy makers. We are not like business persons.
So, but then there's something like, for example, Bitcoin, where to produce Bitcoin, like Chanyang in his dormitory room has a Bitcoin farm, and it requires so much electricity to produce one Bitcoin.
That's why if you are in China right now, you will be arrested because it's already banned digging Bitcoin. It consumes a lot of energy, and this is going to only personal rich.
Yeah. But
you have to think about, we live together. This you have to think of society as the whole too. Okay, this is about it's moral issue. I would say this is moral issue now. Okay, if you want to share to help not only you and other you. Okay, global warming. I think during your my generation. Okay, impact of climate change. I don't think it will be severe impact my generation. But if I only think, okay, I will survive and I escape severe impact of climate change, you have to think about future generation too, right? Right? If you think only for yourself, this is selfish, right? Student, Alice, you agree with me?
I think thinking about future generations is important. When I was in law school, I had my first daughter in law school, my first child in law school, and one of my professors asked me a question. He asked me, has having a baby changed your perception or perspective on life? And I said, yes. It made me more concerned about the environment. Because, like you said, I'm going to escape the worst effects of climate change because I'm going to be dead long before it happens. But my children and my grandchildren, if I have any, are the ones who will suffer more.
Yes, for sure. And take that into account. They didn't create this kind of problems, but they're the one who will get the big impact in the future. They didn't burn fossil fuel right now. We the one who keep burning fossil fuels. Go ahead.
I've heard some people they have so much anxiety about climate change that they don't want to have children because they're worried about their future. And another reason people are not having children is I guess correctly, they consider that bringing another person into the world will put a lot more CO2 in the world because that person will burn fossil fuels. So I don't know. I guess these are two different issues. Well, as to the first one, is it an overreaction to say I don't want to have kids because of the future is uncertain, or is that a reasonable thing to do? I would like to hear from anybody, including Dr. Suthipong.
Okay, let's start with me. Okay, I think this is okay. Issue of controlling number of population is very sensitive. I would say this is like based on individual countries like Korea. Okay, Korea, because they were facing like very low birth rate. They want to have high baby. Okay, because why? Korea is rich. Okay, they can support good education, good health. Okay, and you go to developing countries like different countries in Africa. What happened? They have tons of kids, even they are poor. But why they have tons of kids? Because kids are asset, labor for farming. They don't care about education. In that situation, I think it make situation worse. But in Korea, in many developed countries like US, John, you're from USA, right? USA. Okay, you are rich. You advanced country. To have more kids, I think that's help. Because you have good education, good health care, and this kid will become a power of future generation, not the burden of future planet Earth. It depends. This is my opinion. Okay, student, your opinions.
May I say something?
Yep.
Yep.
Last year there was a
what is it?
competition.
Competition. Speech contest. Language Education Center, and the topic that I bring out was the global trade of Korea.
So
So I have seriously considered about global trade in Korea, and one of the biggest reasons why Koreans don't have babies. The biggest reason was the concern that their babies generations life will be much harder than now. Even they don't afford having babies, but maybe 30 years later, their life will be more harder than they're like now. So, and I think it's a little bit kind of off topic, but it's rather an economic problem rather than the global warming problem. But I think it's a major reason people don't want their child to be suffer.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Chong, based on your comments, that let me think. I recall that from one book, they said there are three major issues that we should talk about when we talk about, like how to mitigate the problem of climate change. Okay. Number one is controlling number of world population. Number two is reducing in terms of world consumption. Number three, they're talking about technology. The technology that, like clean technology that help to increase the amount of greenhouse gases. And they said, in terms of controlling population, this is sensitive issues. It's about moral issue thing. It's difficult to do it, especially policy makers or even some kind of religion, like Christians. This is somehow sensitive issue. To control human, not to consume a lot. It's also difficult, right? We think, why not? I have money. I want to drink. I want to eat that thing. I have money. I can afford it. They said only possible way that policymaker can go is using advanced technology to controlling or mitigate the problem of climate change.
Asking what would be good technology.
That I recall from your comments, Mr. Chong.
Professor, I have a question. It's a strange question, but is retaining ecosystem make help global warming slow?
If what? Say that again.
So my question is, does retaining ecosystem ecosystem makes the global warming slow?
For sure. Ecosystem, right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Ecosystem help a lot. What is ecosystem? You understand the meaning of ecosystem? What is ecosystem? If you understand the meaning, I think your answer will be definitely yes. What you think? When you hear about ecosystem, you think about what?
Nature things like
Yes.
species eat together or
Yes, you think about living, non-living things, living together, interacting together, right? Plants, animals, soil, air, water, connection, okay? Working together, creating functions, right? You think about trees. Trees is part of nature, right? Trees can absorb CO2, right? Photosynthesis, right? Oceans also, there is an exchange CO2 between air and ocean water already in nature. Natural oceans already absorb a lot of CO2 from the air. It's helped a lot if you have strong ecosystem.
So, quick question. If the oceans absorb extra CO2 from the atmosphere, wouldn't rising sea level help decrease the amount of CO2 in the air?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, good. So, so
without ocean absorbing CO2 from the air, the amount of CO2 in the air right now, it will be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Where is that? Because natural already have exchange of CO2 between air and ocean or water. This is natural process.
So as global sea level rises, that's a good thing to reduce the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere.
It's not good. I mean, bad is more than good.
It's more okay. So it's more damaging than helpful.
More damaging than benefiting from it.
Okay, good. So Professor, what technologies? Like we have a lot of students studying science. Some may major in environmental engineering. What technologies do you think have the most promise in helping to reduce or change climate change?
Yeah, student, easy way. You now go online, register TS2475.
Stop!
We talk all
Stop!
of this.
Stop!
TS2475. Student, do it after this talk or this meeting. Okay, student. First, technology. Okay, when we talk about technology, you have to go with technology that reduce. You have to deal with, when we talk about technology that reduce the carbon emission. Okay, carbon emission. What kind of technology that reduce carbon emission? Student.
Solar panel.
Say that again.
Solar light energy.
Yeah. Okay. Solar panel. Good. That is one. What else?
Nuclear fusion.
Excellent. I know we are concerned about nuclear. I mean, safety. I am concerned too. But I think we have the technology of nuclear power plant. I think is more advanced and it's more secure. It's safe. Who is said? Yeah, nuclear energy. This is one option too, because nuclear release just a small fraction of carbon. Excellent. You can go with wind. You can go. Okay, John.
Yes, I was going to mention that hydrogen fuels could be used for things like shipping, whereas we already know, battery-powered cars are becoming a thing.
Yes.
But shipping is a little more difficult. It looks like hydrogen might be a possibility there.
Yes.
And maybe like one of the hardest kinds of transportation to reduce CO2 with will be air travel. So
Air
I'm
travel.
curious.
I think it's already experimenting in terms of they use some kind of biodiesel.
Biodiesel.
The energy is producing from like agricultural waste. Even some the wind they use solar panels.
Wow.
This is already testing.
Wow.
And it works. Okay, I think it's coming. This kind of renewable technology is coming. It must be coming. We have no choice. Because I told you it's difficult to control global population. It's difficult to reduce worldwide good consumptions. Only way remaining is depend on technology, and humans are smart. Think about Korea. You have, hydrogen energy, EV, electricity vehicle. This is coming. It's already happening in China.
Okay. Can I show you guys something? Let me show you this picture.
Please.
I found it on Reddit. Here it is. Do you see this picture? A gas-powered van towing a diesel generator charging an electric car. Okay, and to me, I'm worried that relying too much on technology is going to be not the best solution. Because, for example, creating batteries for electric vehicles causes its own environmental damage.
Mm. Okay, go ahead.
Because in order to create those batteries, you have to use a lot of different, much more exotic elements from the earth.
Yeah,
And
that's why.
if there's a
Okay, go
car
ahead.
accident, if there's a car accident,
Uh,
with a normal car, you use water to put the fire out. But now, with all of these electric, chemically fires,
mm,
it's much more dangerous to just pour water on it. It becomes
mm.
a hazardous material situation. And so, I think especially for politicians, the politicians want a very, technology-oriented solution to global warming. But I think
Mm.
the more we rely on technology, the more new problems it's going to create. To find the elements for the batteries and a large scale, it's they have to drag up so much
Okay,
mining, so much.
okay. Alice, when we talk about battery like EV, okay, design battery, I think scientists are smart. They already have plan B. They know it that battery, what we say, the life, the life, what is it? Like shelf life. You use battery, sometimes it will be empty. Okay, you have to be disposed. Now, scientists also have technology how to recycle. Recycle in terms of this kind of battery that they invent for the car. Not only recycle technology, the design of battery now is more advanced in terms of you have longer period of use of power. It will be longer, and then when we say the capacity is higher, somehow technology is more advanced right now. I'm not worried about that kind of thing because scientists are already aware of disposing this kind of some kind of hazardous waste into environment. This is another problem. I think they are already aware of that.
I think also battery technology, they're working on batteries that use less harmful materials. So now we're primarily using lithium-ion batteries.
Right.
But in 20 years, it could be something else. Of course, graphene's been in the lab forever, or some solid state.
I heard they will use like sodium to replace like lithium. It's more environmental friendly. And I see even I read this article long time ago, some kind of, when you design the road, if you use the road can help automatically charging your car while you're running. You don't need to go to the EV station, charging car. You run from that road. They will decide somehow on the base of the road is automatically charging your car when you're running on that road. Is need planning.
So you have a smaller battery then.
Yeah. Okay, student, you think it's enough? I think it's enough, right? I'm feeling exhausted now. I use a lot of energy.
Does anyone have
Student,
any final
don't
questions?
forget what you have to do after this meeting, student. Mr. Chong, you remember? Go online. You have to go online, register GS2475.
How many students are in the class right now?
Now I have 12.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So, even with technology solutions, I think it's important to do simple things like plant more trees.
Yes, easy that you can do for sure. The tree can absorb CO2.
And I think for the students, if you're interested in environmental issues, going into environmental engineering as a major, I think has a lot of options for your future careers. Like, it's going to
This is
become more and more important as time goes on.
Student, you think about it. What you eat, what you breathe, what you drink. This is your environment, student, right? You breathe air, right? You drink water. You eat food. You get food from nature, from soil, right? Right? What your clothes is coming from nature, right? This is environment, right? Without good quality environment, your quality of life will be deteriorating, right? Because you depend on environment to grow. This is my summary. Okay, take care of your environment. Okay, student, take good care of environment.
Gyumin, do you have any questions or concerns? Yuho, any questions or concerns you want to mention before we leave?
Yeah. As far as I remember, I remember getting educated on global warming ever since I was a little student, like in elementary school. So, global warming has been known to us publicly for like 10 years or more.
Yeah.
And everyone tried to do a good job by using paper straws or, trying to do the simple things. But statistically, it has shown that global warming isn't really slowing down. So do you think these advertisements have any real major impacts? Because I really agreed with what Ellis said earlier about like individuals trying to do good things doesn't really matter because the
I didn't
corporations
recognize
must
him.
take the real action.
I think this I would say this is based on individually. This is small action that we can do, and everyone take this small action every day. I think it make big impact, but you have to understand because the cause of global warming or climate change is not coming from what we are it's coming from burning of fossil fuels. Fossil fuel is the cause. We have to keep burning fossil fuel because we need energy. Energy is the cause that without energy we cannot do everything, right? So you have to control the major impact. You have to control burning fossil fuels. How we do it? We can go partly with reducing dependence on fossil fuel burning, increase renewable energy. That is one option. What else we can do? If we can help instead of driving personal cars, you walk or you take some kind of mass transportation, that you can help too. This is small thing that you can do daily, every day, right? Okay, you have to understand too. Once you release or you release whatever greenhouse gases, CO2, methane, whatsoever, there is a time period of these gases in the air too. It doesn't mean you stop burning fossil fuel today and then you solve problem of climate change. It's not. There is a time lag. You understand, right? That means you release CO2 I think CO2 is stay in the atmosphere long, thousands and thousands of years. Am I answering your question?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. I hope you enjoy, right, student?
It's a very complicated topic to cover in a short 1 hour time frame, but it's
That's
interesting.
correct. So go to TS2475. You will make complicated things into easy things. Just attend TS2475.
So earlier this month, the United Nations published a report. If you have a chance to take a look at it, the conclusions are very scary, and it should be a wake-up call for politicians and for societies to start seriously considering the long-term impact of human activity is having on the environment.
Yeah. I I think the big challenge is how to convince them, I mean politicians, climate change is real. I think this is a big problem. I see many world leaders. I don't want to mention former President Trump. Even he doesn't believe climate change is real.
And the problem with a politician is,
Yes.
if the economy is good, then people are happy and people will vote for the politician. But the problem is,
happy. Yeah.
in order to
For
implement
sure.
a lot of the changes to carbon emissions, like the Paris Peace Agreement in 2016, it's
Right.
going to cost a lot of money for a lot of companies.
Yes.
And so they're paying, especially like in America and other democracies,
Mm.
big companies are paying politicians to keep the old policies that allow them to rely on fossil fuels, to rely on cheap energy. And
Yes.
that's why it's so hard to change politicians' views on global warming.
But don't forget, you still have power to change them. Whenever you have general election is coming next year in Korea, right? You can vote. Your vote go to the person that do believe in climate change. That will help. Power is still in your hand anyway. When you cross or stamp on the voting paper.
So to solve the problem of climate change, there's one technology aspect and one changing people's opinions aspect. If you want to learn how to change people's opinions, please take my course next semester on journalism and news reporting. I think it's GS 2655.
Okay.
So, and learn how to influence society, change public opinion, and influence politicians. John, is there a course you want to pitch for next semester?
I'm teaching required courses. So if you're required to take an English course, then sign up.
Are all your courses full by now, John?
No, I've got some spots for my grad one, but I don't think anybody here needs to take graduate English one. So.
Hey, students, that remind me, I have another course, GS2
Stop.
74 Sustainable Development. Okay, maybe you're interested.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm happy because Dohyun is taking my class next semester, and he's been a good student in the past. So Dohyun, please bring more of your friends and have them sign up. No, okay, that's wonderful. Dr. Yoon, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate
you
your.
Can add, right? You still can add. Even you cannot register now, it's closed, but there is an adding and dropping period. Okay, student, don't worry. You can add my course next week. There is a 2 weeks period for adding and dropping. Student.
And because Professor Suthipong was nice enough to join our meeting today, I want to ask him, what kind of evaluation did your course get last semester? What kind of student evaluation feedback did you receive for your course last semester?
Me?
Yeah, your course.
My course, okay.
It was ranked really highly, right, by the students.
I have one is
no. Professor, you got student feedback last semester, right?
Yes.
Was it good feedback or bad feedback?
Perhaps you see my style of meeting. You like it, you enjoy it, student?
So
yes or no? This is my style of teaching.
So last semester,
we see positive. Okay, I got for GS my ranking 12 out of 105. 12, 2 out of 105. This is general courses. For environment courses, my ranking is first out of 8. First, number 1 out of 8. You enjoy my teaching like this, student? Yes, right? Yeah. It's you see? Thumb up. This is true. I have a proof. From this.
Okay, so I really appreciate you joining us for the meeting today, and hope in the future we can get more professors to join our meetings and talk about their individual specialties, or Students, if there's someone you know that you would like to have as a special guest, please let us know. And I think that would really add a lot of depth and perspective to our meetings. So, Professor Suthipong, students, Dr. Yoon, thank you so much for joining. John, as always, thank you for your support. And I hope everyone has a great start to your semester next week. And be safe. Take care, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Suthipong.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This meeting is over. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, Professor.
That was funny.
That's really fun.